Take responsibility of your own happiness. Never put it in other people's hands. When we're incomplete, we're always searching for somebody to complete us. When, after a few years or a few months of a relationship, we find that we're still unfulfilled, we blame our partners and take up with somebody more promising. This can go on and on. Each of us are responsible for our own fulfillment. Nobody else can provide it for us. And to believe otherwise is to delude ourselves dangerously, and to program for eventual failure every relationship we enter. Two families lived nearby. One family was constantly fighting, while the other one lived quietly and friendly. One day, feeling jealous about how nicely the neighboring family got along, the wife told her husband, "Go to the neighbors and look to see what they are doing for their well-being." The husband went, hid and began watching. He saw a woman who was cleaning the floor. Suddenly something distracted her, and she ran to the kitchen. At that time, her husband rushed into the room, not noticing the bucket of water. He kicked it and spilled water all over the floor. His wife came back from the kitchen and said to him, "I'm sorry, honey. It's my fault. I didn't move the bucket out of the way." The husband replied, "No, I'm sorry, honey. It's my fault, because I did not notice it." The man returned home, and his wife asked him if he found out what their secret is. I think the difference is that we always seek to be right, while they seek to take responsibility for their part. Having peaceful relationships mean taking personal responsibility for our own part. There is an expiry date on blaming your parents for steering you in the wrong direction. The moment you are old enough to take the wheel, responsibility lies with you. The greatest day in your life and mine is when we take total responsibility for our attitudes. That's the day we truly grow up. Each of us has the right and the responsibility to assess the roads which lie ahead and those over which we have traveled. And if the future road looms ominous or unpromising, and the roads back uninviting, then we need to gather our resolve and, carrying only the necessary baggage, step off that road into another direction. If the new choice is also unpalatable, without embarrassment, we must be ready to change that as well. If you take responsibility for yourself, you will develop a hunger to accomplish your dreams. Placing the blame or judgment on someone else leaves you powerless to change your experience. Taking responsibility for your beliefs and judgments gives you the power to change them. Boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and someone else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership, knowing what I am to own. And take responsibility gives me freedom. Taking responsibility for my life opens up many different options. Boundaries help us keep the good in and the bad out. Setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. You are the one who makes them. You are the one who must live with their consequences. And you are the one who may be keeping yourself from making the choices you could be happy with. We must own our own thoughts and clarify distorted thinking. Your life begins to change the day you take responsibility for it. If you take responsibility and blame yourself, you have the power to change things. But if you put responsibility on someone else, then you are giving them the power to decide your fate. Be conscious of your decisions. More importantly, take responsibility for the consequences they bring. When struggling with your passions and goals, be patient and never bail out. You'll eventually get your shot. Remember that only the strong will survive. Be willing to sacrifice things you love to achieve your dream. Expect disappointments, because they will happen over and over again. Just never forget that there is definitely a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Blaming others is an act of refusing to take responsibility. When a person can't accept the fact or the reality, they blame another person or the situation instead of taking accountability. And you must be cautious, because making your life better means adopting a lot of responsibility. And that takes more effort and care than living stupidly in pain and remaining arrogant, deceitful, and resentful. Like the gardener, a leader must take responsibility for what he cultivates. He must mind his work, try to repel enemies, preserve what can be preserved, and eliminate what cannot succeed. Sometimes, we expect life to work a certain way, and when it doesn't, we blame others, or see it as a sign, rather than face the pain of the choices we should, or shouldn't have made. Real healing won't begin until we stop saying, "God prevented this or that," often in our attempt to protect ourselves from pain. We leave things to fate and don't take chances. Or we don't work hard enough to keep the blessings we are given.